Oh, Rue, are you back from jury duty?
I think you misunderstood. I was on Jeremy duty. Jeremy's sick. I
Oh,
had to take care of him.
I see.
What is a jury, anyway?
I don't know.
It's something that if Ephraim ever has to go to court in order to make up for basically the war crimes he's committed, they're just going to bypass on that.
Ah, speaking of Ephraim, I believe we normally would have someone come in today, and I believe it's your turn to pull them.
All right, I'll pull someone in. Here's someone who's sleeping. And here we go. Hi there.
Ah, Alicia, those knots are way too tight. Huh? What?
Yeah.
Uh, oh, wow. Now that is something. Okay, at the risk of sounding rude, can I take a sample of one of your scales? Because that is spectacular. Oh my goodness. Whoa, how did I. This is a cave. I'm in a cave. 10 fingers? I'm not dead again, so that's good.
Sure, you could take a sample out of Ashura's scales.
Why did I know you were going to volunteer me?
That is fantastic. Okay, I've got all these sharp tools in here. You just tell me which one looks like it would do the most damage to your carapace, and that'll probably be the one that we can get under there and really just get in.
You could always just do this. Pluck.
Ow!
Here you go.
Wow, the tensile strength is something else. Jolt, hang on to that. Thank you.
Are they rabid?
You know what? I actually don't know. They could be, but they've never bit me before, so.
Well, with my track record of small creatures, I'm going to not get too close. But a little bit of explanation. We have pulled you into the realm of forgotten memories, so we may ask you some questions. You seem like you might be the type like to talk, so let us get introductions out of the way. I am Rue.
I'm Ephraim.
And I'm Ashura.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. Take samples from you and meet you in that order. My name is Thomas Cameron Perriwinkle, professor of arcane history and current practitioner of magic in the Empire of Brass.
Empire Brass.
Why is it called the Empire of Brass?
It has to do with its history. So, first of all, how familiar are you with the realms of Kolheim? Because obviously we're in some sort of like arcane dimensional bubble, so this is probably a realm that is separate from my home reality. Am I correct in extrapolating that?
You are very clever. I don't know how much separate we are. We have a little bit of ties to everywhere, with maybe few exceptions, but you've got it mostly right.
All right. So, okay, interesting.
You can assume that we know nothing about your world.
Understood. Well, the believe me, there are textbooks, but basically, the lands of the Empire of Brass were founded by a group of wizards who all got together and decided to unify a bunch of disparate kingdoms underneath a unified concord. I happen to teach at a university that is headed by one of these wizards, and basically their organization hundreds of years ago sort of just brought everybody together and formed the Empire of Brass. Why brass specifically is sort of unclear. I believe it has something to do with the relative strength of the metal, and also it was some sort of in-joke amongst the wizards. You know how academic they can be. Their jokes usually don't make any sense, but it was sort of elected during the time that that Concord was written.
Could it have been that there was an empire of copper and an empire of zinc, and they mixed together, form brass?
If there is, it was definitely before the time of the Concord, and thus, come to think of it, history before the Concord is sort of sparse. That's something I should look into when I get home. Sorry, I am such a mess. All of my notes and everything are all over the place. So sorry, your names again. Let me write these down because this could become important when I
I'm Ephraim.
wake up from this. Ephraim, Dragon, and then you were the one I took a sample from. Thank you for that, by the way. You were
I'm Ashura.
Ashura. That written down. And then, sorry, I haven't really taken a good look at you yet. Are those tentacles?
Yes, I am Rue. I am a Cephalotus Fey.
A fae! Oh, goodness! Oh, how familiar are you with satyrs and fae folk and, like, the Theros mythology and things like that? I bet Alicia would love to meet you.
Well, maybe sometime they shall. But I'm pretty familiar with most of the types of fae, give or take 5 that I've heard of more recently. They were forgotten, so I don't know if they count. Also, Ephraim, remind me that I need to get rid of the bushes with the mouths. I forgot about them again.
Those give the best berries.
Uh,
The forgotten bushes?
yes, they've been causing problems again. You are an academic sort. Maybe you can help me with the problem later.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Absolutely.
So I'm very sorry. Just I want to make sure I understand this as baseline as much as possible. So this is a astral projection, forced dream state, an actual like jump to an alternate realm.
You are currently dreaming. We brought your consciousness into our realm temporarily so we can make sure that you are not completely forgotten should you die.
Astral projection. All right. I have to say the applications of this are staggering to think about.
What sort of applications?
Well, I mean, think about how useful. My body is currently back home. I'm assuming getting a full night's rest right before what is to be the biggest academic moment in my career, while I am here having a very enlightening conversation with a set of intraplanar beings. I mean, imagine how much work I could get done if I could do this every night. It would be that I would double my workload.
Yeah, but then you have to pay taxes in 2 realms.
Oh, there's taxes here. Oh, well, that's not ideal.
Yeah, if you work while you're dreaming, you have to pay taxes in your dreams. You'll get into a lot of problems, actually. Anyway, where are you from? You said something about the Empire of Brass. Is that your home country?
Yes, well, more specifically, I grew up in the University of the Arcanum. I was in the Empire of Brass is sort of the overall governing body that exists. And there are a number of cities there. Where I've spent most of my time recently is at the Azure Fortress and a place known as Thoxir. In fact, I haven't been home in months, almost a year now. But I spent most of my life at the university. That's where I was raised. My father was a very prestigious member of academia, and so my upbringing was that. And my mother was a diplomat. She would, travel all over the empire, speaking on conferences and things. So I didn't see her very often, but yes, haven't got out a lot until lately.
Yeah, that's a mood.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. So you're all just here. I assume you don't travel.
Not if I can avoid it.
You mean to other realms, or
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know the reaches of this astral projection space necessarily. I don't know how far you could. Maybe you do explore through dreams, just countless realms. I would have no way of knowing that. But I'm only mentioning this because Ashura, that chair you're sitting on is starting to look very U-shaped, just from an outside viewer's perspective. So I'm assuming probably haven't left that chair at least recently.
could be also the memory wood.
Memory wood.
Yes, similar to a memory pillow, where we'll remember the shape of whoever last used it.
That exists.
Here it does. In your realm, it may be extinct, which is why I would have ended up here.
I'm sorry. So let me just make sure. So the memory wood grows like memory. It's not modified by magic or the manufacturing process. It just grows like that. There is a tree in a forest somewhere that grows to remember the shape of everything that comes in contact with it, and it's called memory wood.
Yep.
But then again, what would ever forget about your ass?
I mean, it's a fine ass.
Okay. Wonderful. Sorry, you shatter my world, and then you scientifically, and then you do that. Sorry, there's a cat in.
Oh, don't worry about my cats.
Oh, those are your cats.
Yeah, they just
Oh.
like attention.
Oh, well, hello. Scritch, 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 scritch.
Well, we shatter a lot of people's realities, either magically or scientifically, with the realization that some things exist that aren't in their realms.
How long have you been doing this for?
Very long.
At least one season.
So you've been seeing, well, season is only like 3 months, right?
Oh, if only our seasons are way longer than that.
Well, so then I guess, I mean, ask me whatever you'd like to know about my realm, but I feel like at a certain point, there's not a lot I can offer. I mean, what is this place's purpose? What are you trying to achieve with it?
We're here to collect stories,
Oh, specifically,
more or less.
Yeah.
do these stories have some practical, like, are they currency where you come from, or are they, like, is there some sort of, like, power source that requires stories to run, or what is the practical application of having stories told in this place? I assume it's something arcane about it.
With the realm of forgotten memories, anything that ends up forgotten ends up here. So once a person's stories have disappeared and have been forgotten, they end up here. Who better to collect stories than the people that the stories go to?
So this is a preservation chamber.
In a way, yes.
Interesting. Does that mean that what I do for the world, what I do for the empire, the ramifications of my technology and my adaptations in magic, that gets forgotten?
Well, everything gets forgotten eventually. Like, even the things in this realm eventually gets forgotten as well, and then they're just gone.
But the advancements that you make with your research and study help those that are of your current age and multiple ages after you.
I suppose that is what I expected to hear, but not what I hoped. Anyway, yes, my story. Where would you like me to start?
Yeah, how did you start adventuring?
I was struck by lightning.
Okay.
Metaphorically or physically?
So I was teaching. First of all, you need to understand that I'm not here. Lightning bolt. That burst of magic you just saw, I haven't always been able to do that. In fact, I was born with no magic at all, but an intense obsession with it. And I ended up going into arcane history at the university because I was, frankly, the only subject I could teach. I was as close as I could get because all other realms of study need you to have actual practical experience with magic, except for history. So I was able to teach that, and during one of my lectures, somehow, through multiple layers of concrete, I was struck by lightning, and I woke up days later from a coma with this little guy. This jolt on my arm, on my chest, and I had a huge scar down my eye. You can't see it anymore, but I was touched by Mistra.
Oh, consensually or?
Well, it was a lightning strike, so I mean, I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't really ask for it.
Did you offend her?
I don't think so. To this day, I still don't know why I was provided magic in such a bombastic way, why she didn't just provide my soul with it initially. But I have to assume it's something to do with the knowledge I gained during my study of arcane history. Most people write off the history of Arcanum, but truly, I never would have come to my academic thesis if I hadn't discovered what I had in the histories of the Empire during multiple nights of research and obsessive reading. The things that I'm working towards, the things that shattering of the status quo that I'm attempting to reach, wouldn't have happened if I didn't know where this magic came from, how it originated in this empire. And anyway, I woke up from that coma, and immediately I knew that the magic I now had, I had to use. And so the best way to use magic is to adventure.
You just started adventuring?
You just walked out your front door with a knapsack over your shoulder and hope in your heart.
Oh, I am a man with tenure, so obviously I had, some resources at my disposal. My father sent me with someone who my sister had selected, as well as a group of other people from the university to travel with on the way to the place where I would truly start my adventure, which is the Azure Fortress. It's a sort of guild city that is dedicated to like setting up adventuring contracts, and I met a large group of people there who I've been traveling with ever since.
Who all's in your party?
Um, there are the monks, Tide and Shuto, who are pacifists who, well, Tide not so much anymore ever since he met the Raven Mother, but Shuto definitely. There's Montezuma. He is a dragon born, much like Ephraim here. In fact, you two bear a striking resemblance to each other, actually. He is a murderous sociopath who travels with us. And there is, of course, Alicia, who I might have mentioned when I woke up. I apologize for that. If it made any of you uncomfortable, I realize that it's kind of disconcerting to hear.
No, I'm only uncomfortable when someone compare me to someone else.
I apologize?
Please don't. He compares himself to a god every day.
Yes, right. Are you? Gods, I mean. Because it seems like you wield an immense amount of power with sort of a joie de vivre attitude.
I mean, I could be, I guess.
Well, the answer to that is complicated because I don't believe any of us, well, can't speak for Ashura. Not entirely sure what his situation is, but I don't believe Ephraim or I are technically gods, but I was gifted power by a god, and Ephraim is Ephraim.
Ah, okay. So, interesting. So you were give power by. Would these be gods I would be familiar with?
Not in the least for me. I come originally from another realm entirely, but that's a story for another time.
Interesting. I will just mark down mysterious backstory. All right. Okay, yes. But no, I travel with quite a number of people. Most recently, we've been traveling with a necromantic student by the name of Elizabeth von Stride. She has some magical knowledge that I'm very eager to learn about. That is interesting. You three, obviously, you are incredibly tied to magic. I have a theory about the nature of Arcanum, if you're interested in hearing it.
Well, I definitely would be. I like hearing people's theories.
So, the prevailing narrative about magic is that there are good kinds of magic and bad kinds of magic. That there is like a cleric placing a hand on a person and bringing them back to health is good, and a necromancer instilling false life in a corpse is evil. This is sort of like the prevailing narrative in magic. I have come to a bit of a different conclusion. I believe that magic is a force, and a neutral one at that. It's like photosynthesis in plants, or it would be like comparing it to a crossbow bolt firing out of a chamber. Like, the crossbow bolt itself is not evil. If it's used to kill, let's say, a child, that would be an evil act. But the actual science behind the propulsion and the physics of the crossbow and all of that, none of that is evil. It's not bad to have that knowledge. It's just in the way you wield it. I believe that magic is an entirely neutral force in the cosmos, and that over all realities, all encompassing, that there is no such thing as good and evil magic, it's just how it's wielded. You would obviously be authorities on the arcane, considering the circumstances in which I find myself today. How do you feel about that? Does that line up with your perception, or is there like a different angle I should look at this at?
Well, first of all, I've never heard that plants can synthesize pictures, so, I mean, that's just weird.
Oh, no, photosynthesis is never mind. Yes, so synthesis. So yes,
Ephraim, I have taught you about photosynthesis before when you asked why I don't always have to eat.
we're getting very hung up on photosynthesis here.
I'm just surprised he's forgotten already, or didn't listen. I do want to put my opinion goes well with what you line up. I don't know about theirs, but let's just say that at least in the realm I come from, I believe you would be very correct. I'm not sure about all realities, though. Laws of the world work differently in different realities.
Are you saying that you've encountered a dimension in your story collection where there is inherently evil arcane power?
Let us say that it's not in our story collection per se, but my personal experiences. But that's a story that I'll tell you after we get through the main story of your life.
Mysterious backstory, double underline.
I like this one. They take notes and they go back to them.
You should probably add another underline.
3 underlines. That's the most underlines I've ever put on anything in this notebook.
Whew, that is really mysterious then.
That's quite a few mysterious backstories.
Can I just say, from one academic to another, it is truly just groundbreaking to be able to have these frank conversations about things. My party gets tied up in the morality of magic all the time, and just being able to walk into an obvious dimension of intense magical potency and just be able to have frank discussions about it from an academic perspective and not a, a more like personal point of view is truly a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we academics should really stick together.
Don't you get started with me.
Let's just say that Ephraim has thoughts, but not always academic thoughts. Though he is a lot smarter and more academic than we sometimes give him credit for. Did I really just say that?
I will say, just from what I've experienced, academia is a constantly eroding mountainside. Like, you're never done learning, and like, study is all about curiosity. So, as long as you are infinitely curious, I would consider anyone an academic under those criteria.
Did your party members help you with your academic theories?
Yes,
Were they academics themselves?
well, Alicia is under my sister's tutelage to become the greatest bard in the realm. She is so immensely talented. But all of them have contributed in their own way. Yes, actually, are we able to bring things from my reality here? I mean, obviously, I have whatever I had on me, which the connotations of that in a dream state is insane, and I'll have to spend many sleepless nights thinking about that. But are you able to bring other objects into this reality for the sake of context?
But try.
There is an object in my tent that I don't have on me. It is called the Inclusius Odeus. If you're able to bring that into this realm, it's my greatest achievement. And I could show you a little bit of what they've helped me to uncover here.
Sure, you're the expert on bringing things with people. Could you try?
All right, let me.
I just don't want to fuck it up.
All right, is this the item?
Yes! Yes, it is! Okay, so this box here, basically, my theory needs multiple tenets to prove it true. First of all, I need to be able to prove that magic is neutral. I need to prove that magic is found in everything, and I need to prove that energy can be channeled for multiple uses. That, like, magic that was traditionally considered bad can be channeled for the pursuit of good, etc., in order to fully prove my theory. This is for that third tenet. Basically, this is a ring of spell storing that is blown up to 11. With this object, I have proven that the magic used to cast Fireball is the same magic that is used to create souls. Living beings are powered by arcane energy, a neutral form of it, one with infinite potential. And just like a ring of spell storing can hold a fireball for later use, this object, this Inclusius Odeus, this skeleton cage, can take the arcanum of somebody's living being and encase it in a point of stasis. Keep it alive, keep their knowledge and their arcane power, and channel it into an infinite number of applications. This object that you see in front of you could be a portable library of someone's lived experiences. It could be a generator that could power an entire city, depending on the magic caster contained inside. At the moment of somebody's death, we could entrap them and contain their memories forever. Their knowledge would never be lost. Their magic would be infinitely recurring and could be maintained and used. The greatest wizards in the realm could continue to have influence over the societies that they've helped build. And all it would take is to put them in this box. It is my greatest academic achievement, and it would not have been possible without all of their help. Elizabeth had some of the equations help me to complete them. Many days of study in front of a chalkboard, she and I managed to figure out the algorithm that would allow us to contain souls as if they were spells. And Billy is a dwarf that works with us who is academic in runecraft, and you can see all these little runes around the exterior of the object. He built this box. He and a number of arcane runesmiths built this box. If it wasn't for him, I never would have gotten past the theoretical stage. Without my friends, Tide, the one who I mentioned who turned over to the Raven Mother and has since become a cleric of necromancy, he saved my life. I tested this object on myself and I was able to be contained and my knowledge was able to be accessed, and they cast one of my lightning bolts out of this box, but I died in the process. My soul was shredded to pieces. And if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for Tide, I wouldn't be here right now.
Well, you look good for being dead.
Thank you. I was reincarnated, so the pointy ears weren't standard. Didn't come with me initially. And my hair was much whiter than it is now, more of a gray, which I'm still not a fan of. But other than that, what you see is what you get with me. But this box is proof that you can take something that everybody thinks is evil and negative, the magic inside of somebody, a lich, for instance, and that lich's knowledge can be used for good. The base essence of what they are doesn't lead to evil actions. The base essence of what they are is neutral. It's just knowledge. It's just power. And those things can be wielded for the good or the detriment of the Empire. And I intend to prove that tomorrow. We're about to ambush a lich who has escaped us for quite some time, and when I wake up from this projection, with your words, Rue, I feel more in tune with the arcane than ever with this experience, and with your affirmations of my theory, I think that I can save the Empire of Brass from itself, and that is what I intend to do.
Well, that is a very noble goal, and I will be wishing you all the best.
Just a shame that people usually forget about the dreams after they wake up.
It is.
I'm sorry?
It's about a roughly 85% ratio of those we bring in who forget, and the rest will remember vaguely.
So these notes I'm taking, will I lose those?
They might help you remember.
Oh, good. Okay, so, all right. I am taking down the minutes at this point.
Very stewardess.
Well, I mean, this is groundbreaking stuff here. If I can apply even one iota of what you guys are doing here in this dimension, then, I mean, this could only enhance the Inclusius, what we're doing here.
Please don't break it. Our kobolds have just finished polishing out the ground.
Oh no. I would never. Yes, I'm very familiar with how fragile this kind of magic is. I was saying more theoretically applying what you're doing here to my own arcane and attempting to create a facsimile of what this all is, specifically so that I can get more work done. That's really what I would use it for. But no, I would never leech off of what you have here. This is pure magical prowess, and it deserves to be respected.
Oh, thank you.
I can never tell if Ephraim is being too literal or actually understands the figures of speech.
Why not both?
What more would you like to know?
Well, after you were reincarnated with grey hair, did people call you Thomas the Grey?
If that's a reference to something, I have no context for it. No. I'll just answer the question literally. No, they did not call me that. Although Alicia did say something to the tune of, wow, new body to work with. That's going to be fun tonight. And that was pretty much the only comment I got on it, which I assume was good.
Let me just say, as a bard, I could think of many ways that they might have meant it, and most of them are good.
Yes, lots of knots. So many knots.
Yeah, please do not.
That was a play on words, and it was very, very well done.
I'm not sure whether I should be concerned for you, and your lack of seeming knowledge as to what might be happening.
Alicia is my first ever romantic partner. I've spent most of my life in careful study, and so I haven't really had time for that sort of indulgence. I don't really understand. Then I can take it or leave it, but she seems to be very happy about it. So I'm happy for her, and I'm happy to provide that service. That makes it sound very clinical. It's fun for both of us, but it's not the kind of fun that I would seek out actively, if you know what I mean.
I don't.
I feel like you're in for quite an experience, but that's the bard in me talking. But yes, so I had a question and I completely forgot what I was going to ask. Sure, this realm is making my brain even more fried than it was before.
Your brain was like that when you got here.
Forget.
Are you sure you can remember?
Circle.
I'm good about remembering a lot of things, it's just questions and things in the now sometimes I forget what is going on. I believe it's called short-term memory is my problem.
That's why I write everything down. I'll be perfectly honest. If I wasn't actively looking at it on the page, I would have forgotten all of your names. And that's not a commentary on how memorable this experience is. That is a commentary on the fact that right now I'm literally going through the math of trying to figure out how to replicate this interdimensional dreamscape. And so I'm actively doing math in my head right now while we're talking. And it is very easy to let things just slip through the cracks when you're constantly thinking about the nature of the arcane and how to wield it.
Well, if anything in academia is evil, it would be math.
That is one perspective to have, Rue. Definitely.
I'm Ephraim.
Yes. So what else would you like to know?
What are you and your party currently up to?
Other than trying to capture a lich to save the kingdom of Foxeer? Oh my gods! Foxeer fell. I completely forgot about that.
Oh.
Would you care to elaborate on exactly what happened?
And did it break?
Did it break? The Empire of Brass has declared war on the necromantic community of Foxeer, which is why it is so important that this box and what it can do be shown, because the Empire is still under the very false presumption that necromancy is inherently evil, and they've taken advantage of recent events to stage a full-on war against the kingdom. And the work we're doing could prove them innocent of crimes committed, that their magic is a benefit, that it isn't evil. So capturing this lich and channeling their magic in front of my academy, the Arcanum, where the headmaster is on the council of the Empire, being able to show him what we've learned and what we can do could save an entire kingdom.
It's always good putting your knowledge towards the betterment of the next generation.
I see Billy with his family, and
Oh, where?
oh, he's not here. Sorry. Billy, the one who built this box, his family is just starting, and he thinks that they all think that I'm sterile and clinical, that my emotions are mostly just either anger or excitement at the thought of further study. But the truth is, I would give Alicia a family if she asked tomorrow. I would do whatever I could for that group to keep them alive. Their friendship means everything to me. And the fact that Billy is bringing another him into this world and is committed to someone and wants to further his genealogy. I mean, when I was teaching, there was a certain level of separation between me and my students. They weren't my kids. I didn't love them in that way. I cherished every moment with them, teaching them, but just seeing what Billy was willing to do for his family to be comfortable, what he was willing to risk for 5 platinum. I give him shit for it, pardon my language, but I would never begrudge him the decision to put him and his family's prosperity first. And if I can do anything with this immense knowledge and this magical gift that Mistra above has given me, if I can do anything good for them with it, I will die trying. That's why I'm not afraid of tomorrow. We're about to face a lich, an immensely powerful being, probably with an undead army at his back, and I'm not afraid. I've spoken to him, and I know what he did wrong. He didn't set rules for himself. He let his magic corrupt him. The magic itself wasn't evil, but the fact that he forgot himself, that he left his rules by the wayside, that his morality disintegrated with time, that was what made his lichdom nefarious. And if I've learned anything, it's that rules are what separate us from the animals. And my rules are very simple. I would never steal another's free will with magic. I would protect the innocent at any cost. And my friends are the most important thing in the world to me. And their families and their futures come first. So this lich doesn't scare me.
At what point do your party become less of strangers that met at to friends and family?
I think once you've faced death together and seen the ways in which people mourn, I am not a socially adept person, but watching Shuto bury the bodies of the dead and sob over them, even though he had just met them, watching Alicia sing her funeral dirges over the graves, helping them to bury the bodies. I think once you've seen a person grieve, I think you stop just being acquaintances. I don't think you can look into somebody's soul and see that pain, that hurt, and go back to just casually knowing someone. That's probably a more dramatic answer than you were expecting, and I don't mean to be melodramatic, but I do think that it is a unifying experience.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate the answer.
Have any of you ever taken a life? That may be an impolite question to ask, but
When needed.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like most that I have associated with in general have taken a life at least once, and almost always because it is necessary.
the first time lightning erupted from my hands and it blew a man into a tree, I watched as in an instant his life was just torn from his body and it was just flesh on bark. And I remember drinking myself to death in the tavern at the fortress after that encounter. And I'm afraid to say that I never felt that bad for a person I killed again. The fact that that is true scares me more than it happening. The awareness of what that means terrifies me, but it happening in the moment doesn't. Is that a shared experience? Have you all found that it just keeps getting easier, and at a certain point, you don't feel that connection anymore?
I mean, I don't feel like I've experienced grief after killing someone. I mean, if you need food and you kill something to eat it, you do what you must to survive.
So you have a natural instinctive detachment because you are doing it for the sake of survival. That would imply a level of natural survival of the fittest mentality. Ephraim, would you consider yourself more animal or person, if you don't mind my asking?
I am definitely a person.
I'll give my point of view. I was a little horrified the first time I ever took a life, but afterwards it was never as effective to me, if that makes sense. It might not be a shared experience among all, but it's the initial shock of taking a life that is the worst, and after that first time your brain kind of accepts that it's happening, realizes that it might be necessary.
It's incredible that you would say that specifically, Rue, because out of everybody in this group, you are the most Fey affiliated, which predominantly in stories, Fey creatures are very emotionally detached from the lives of mortals. They play with them like tadpoles in a riverbed, and they treat it with very little respect. Do you find yourself more connected to Fey creatures or mortal people as a result of your obvious middle ground between the two?
Well, I believe part of why I can associate with regular mortals is I don't believe I'm considered fully Fey, as I originate in a Fey realm, but I was grown from a plant seed by a Fey. So I am just as much plant as I am Fey. So I might have some attachment to living creatures that have finite lifespans because of it.
Because of your origins as a plant. That is incredibly interesting. Ashura, you haven't spoken on the matter.
I have taken a life before. There were many wars that took place in this realm, but I've only ever taken a life when necessary.
And do you feel that level of evolving detachment the more you have to?
It's debatable on which life I take. Say if the person is trying to attack me and will not back down, the amount of chances I give them, no, I will not. I've given them the option. But otherwise, yes, I would. Since there's always two options, but many people won't take one of them.
Our advice to the listeners is keep taking lives and it will get easier.
Sorry, listeners?
Yay. I mean, you're listening to us.
Oh, so your advice to me.
Yeah. I don't know why I framed it like that, but yeah, just keep killing and it will get easier.
That is crazy advice that I will probably end up taking just by default anyway because of the line of work I'm in, but
I mean, it makes for less competition.
definitely, if there are any people that are happening to listen, like, eavesdroppers on this realm, the kobolds you mentioned earlier, definitely don't take that advice. Killing is soul shattering, and it's best if you can go your whole life without killing anyone, I would highly recommend it. It sounds nice.
I am inclined to agree with that sentiment. Don't kill unless you absolutely have to, and then maybe think on it and show proper remorse.
Yeah. I agree. Only kill if you have to and if you're hungry and if it's funny.
This is one of the reasons I worry about you, Ephraim. Then again, you are a dragon.
What do you mean? We can't just kill for no reason.
Yes, but
There has to be a good reason, like, it's funny.
Yeah, I agree.
yes, the it's funny part is what I'm getting at here. We're not going to have this argument right now, but I will have a word with you.
I've worried a bit less because he doesn't leave the cave.
That is fair, but I worry because the kobolds are not hard targets for the two of you.
I've meant to ask this entire time. I keep looking over at it. What is that silver thing that's sitting in front of Ephraim?
Ephraim, why do you have my laptop?
Laptop?
Yeah, is
I was just watching a YouTube video. Don't mind me.
What are the words you're saying? Don't make any sense.
it's an electronic device that allows us to peer into different items that pull up different information.
Because that makes so much more sense.
So it's like an advanced arcana tech gadget, like the gnomes craft,
Yes,
and it stores knowledge, realms.
knowledge from other realms. We also peer into other things outside of this realm. Although he keeps taking it to look at cat videos.
Does this YouTube have any knowledge about magic or arcanum on it?
No, it's just cats.
There is an entire site that is just dedicated to cats. There's an entire knowledge base that's just about cats.
Yeah.
How much is there to say about cats? Really?
Oh, there's plenty.
You'd be surprised, but that is not all the box can share. But that is all that is important for now, because that's all this one uses it for. Ashura, I'm surprised you haven't put it in a locked area yet that this one can't get to.
I'm surprised I haven't put a password on it yet.
Oh, I would have figured that out.
So you all have domain in this realm and can, like, segregate off chunks of it from others in your little triad here? That's something that is within your purview. You don't all have equal stake in this dimension. You can, like, set aside space for yourself here.
Yeah. My domain name is .aya.
I am slightly confused. Let's just say that I have my own little spot in this realm, and that is just my garden. Ephraim and Ashura take care of the rest of the realm, mostly because I do not like going to the cold place. I do not like going to some of the smaller islands. I just like my garden, even with the mouthy bushes.
They give the best berries.
But they also eat my other bushes.
Did you want me to look at that for you, those bushes? I do have some magic that would be applicable to them that could potentially help you if you wanted.
That would be very nice. You mentioned a lich. Have you had to deal much with any minions of the lich?
Yes, actually, Tide and I, on the way out of Floxir, we found an underground organization that seems to worship the Lich, and we had a little bit of a run-in with them. All sorcerers in their own right. One of them, this very large minotaur, had us cornered in side of their little amphitheater, and I, with a very clever little bit of magic, we were underground, so I dimension doored us, teleported us straight up 1,000 feet, and we were suddenly standing in the middle of a crowded alley on a street in the town, completely exposing him. It was one of my more creative uses of magic. He was not happy, and I realized almost immediately that I was alone with him in an alley, and he was very upset. And come to think of it, a lot of my creative uses of magic end in things being worse than they were before. Like the time I dropped a tower on a god. That didn't go exactly how I hoped it would.
You didn't break the tower?
Oh no, the tower was fine. The god wasn't fine, but the god cursed us on the way out. So, in case you didn't know, when casting ritual magic, the ritual doesn't actually cast until you've written the final symbol on the ritual wheel. So, you can sort of just delay a ritual. You can like start to cast it and then take as long as you want with that last symbol, and then once you write in the last symbol on the ritual wheel, the spell will complete.
Just like cleaning your room.
Yes, that's a good way to look at it. Until that last pair of socks are up off the ground, your room isn't actually clean, is it? So, with that in mind, we were having a conversation with a god, and I wanted access to his library, and he told us something something servitude forever, and I didn't like the sound of it. So I took the initiative and started drawing up the cast for Galder's Tower. I assume you're all familiar with that low-level structural summon spell, seeing as you're casting things like this on a regular basis.
I haven't heard of that specific one, but I know of spells that can conjure and create buildings.
So basically, what you need is you need a small little block of stone or some other material, and you draw a ritual wheel either on the ground or in a notebook or something to that effect, as you're just like describing what you want it to turn into. And as long as you finish describing it and put in the last symbol, that tiny little cube of concrete explodes into a massive tower. Depending on how much magic you put into it, it can have multiple stories, each with their own design. I gave the god one last chance to let us look at his library, and he refused, so I wrote in the last symbol, chucked the piece of stone over his head, and about 10 feet over his head, a massive obsidian tower with a huge spike at the end came crashing down on top of him and obliterated him and his entire army.
Good lord.
But on the way out, he sort of cursed us to, when we die, be in his servitude for eternity. So we had to get rid of that curse. Like I said, I'm very good at manipulating the rules of magic to my advantage and outsmarting people, but usually people act emotionally and I don't prepare for it, and it results in things being worse.
Sounds like you have a lot of experience with this.
Yeah. There was the time I used Galder's Tower to roll us down a mountainside and it exploded on a tree. We were all bolted to the walls, and so we weren't getting bounced around inside, but we did sort of explode and get separated, which I didn't foresee happening, but that was unfortunate.
That usually happens when you explode.
Getting separated? Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of really, truly not thinking before I act about like how it will affect the people. Or I know which dominoes will fall over and what result I'm trying to get and how to get it, but there's usually side consequences and things that I don't always see coming until they're happening, and it has to do with people reacting to things emotionally instead of logically. That's always been a struggle. I assume everyone's going to behave the way I do because it's the most logical, but they don't.
Well, take it from experience, most creatures are going to act emotionally rather than logically. You should try and account for the emotional variable. It might help you a little bit.
That is why I have friends. Because here's the thing, I may not be emotionally literate, but they are certainly emotionally illiterate, and they never stop telling me about it. So I always know when I'm being improper.
Very valid.
I have to say, there's an interesting thing I want to bring up just now. I didn't really think about it before, but Tide mentioned having a dream like this before. Have you brought him here?
Oh, yeah, Tide. Yeah, from episode 85. Yeah, I remember now.
Episode, what? Hang on, hold on. Huh?
Just something he says.
Yes. Also a term we sometimes use for are chronicling of people's adventures so they don't get lost to, shall we say, the void when they are forgotten.
Interesting. So that's how you episodes, that's how you deem the stories that you compile. So Tide has been here because he mentioned two dragons and a flower thing. Those were his exact words when he woke up.
Interesting. I kind of like that flower thing. Better than tentacle fairy like some people have called me.
Yeah, I feel like they draw a lot of focus when really it's more about like the blooms. If I was going for aesthetics, that would be the thing that I would want to accentuate the most. So you grow your own flowers,
I very well can.
but you're also made of flowers.
Yes. I act somewhat like a bush or a tree in that I can flower and bud if I need to.
Interesting. I'm getting a lot of notes on Uru, and all of them are fascinating.
But I believe we're running a little low on time. The spells to bring you through only can last so long. How about you and I go ahead and go see about those bushes and then send you home?
Fantastic. I would love some clippings. Bushes with mouths. Tide is not gonna believe any of them. Oh, well, actually, he might, because, he's been here. But yes, let's go take a look.
Yes. With that, let us just say, have a good awakening.